morning, folks. How's everyone doing? Let me just show my face here for a sec. So, welcome back to another episode of the Crypto and Friends live stream here today. And we have quite a lot exciting potential price action happening with the Bitcoin futures expiring today. And we're actually going to dive a little bit into detail about a few key indicators that are going to show what's going to happen in the markets in the next few days and the coming weeks ahead as well. We also have some major market news that was coming. There's a lot of regulation news that we need to go through, and I think there's a lot of positives for Bitcoin that's building up. So we're going to talk about that in today's episode. We're going to answer some fears and concerns because obviously this week was not a easy week for crypto whatsoever. We had some brutal collapses in the price. We tested the support. The support held. I barely held throughout the week. I think it was a very brutal time. It's a lot of repair time this week. So let me just throw that on the charts here for a sec. But it wasn't easy. I'll say it wasn't easy. There was almost like a point where ETH fell to 1,700 levels. A little bit dicey, but today things are looking quite a bit up as we prepare to go into that weekend. I'll talk about the options, and also I'll talk specifically about ETH as well. There's a lot of updates on what's happening with this new Ethereum improvement protocol 1559 that is coming up that can drastically change how Ethereum operates, well, at least for the coming week. And it includes a huge amount of burn. I think a lot of people don't really realize this, but it gives a lot of value back to holders of Ethereum. So this is, we're going to look at the evidence of what's happening with that as well. So today, guys, make sure you smash up the likes. I know this period, everyone is there's audio issues. Audio is fine. I'll just try to see if there are audio issues. But whilst I'm doing that, guys, smash up those likes. It really does help the channel grow. It really does improve everything that's happening on the channel. So make sure that you smash up those likes right now. And I just want to say a big welcome to everyone. Magic Turtle says audio is fine. So it might be it might be because audio, I'm just be a little bit too loud, but I'll try to fan it out. I'll try to figure it up. So guys, tell me if the audio is okay. I'm reading live chat right now. We got Llama66 says, yay, we're back, baby. Yes, we are back with vengeance. And I've been actually looking at quite a lot of coins recently. I'm actually kind of dropping and pooping things into my shopping cart as things go along. So I'm actually pretty excited with everything's here. Glenbert Juliana says, I miss a lot of the live streams. Well, now it's a good time. We're all up, guys. So smash up those likes. It really does help with the channel. Really, really nice to see everyone coming back in. And I think, honestly, I'll be honest with you guys. I think that the dip was great for everyone. It's a great way to clear all the fear on this market, right? There was a lot of impending fear, and just dropping to that level means that we can start to grow again, right? To start looking. I mean, for me, I think that was the biggest impact. Anyways, guys, without further ado, we also got Nate on the channel. He's trying to figure out how to do his live stream. So I'll start off for now. And let's start off with the intro. Let's go. All right. So let's very quickly just take a look at the market. So obviously, like I said, it was pretty brutal throughout most of this week. However, today we're actually seeing quite a lot of green as the Bitcoin futures are expiring. In fact, it has expired on FTX already. This was the page that the Bitcoin futures for June was on. So June has already expired on FTX. So the June futures options usually. So it's so the next one, it will be in September. So this was a kind of the big event that we're looking out for. It kind of just happened directly as the stream went on live at this current moment. So let me just take a look at what's happening here. So this is the deep dive today, and I'll just take a look at the mark. I'll talk about it now because it's happening as of this moment. So basically what happens is that on a lot of futures exchanges, there's a huge amount of options expiring today. So these are the monthly options, or actually the quarterly options. And this was for June 25th, all right, and expires at different times depending on the exchange. FTX, it just happened already. but the total amount of interest on that is 69,000 Bitcoin. So it's almost 70,000 Bitcoin that is expiring. The options that are expiring today. So that's going to have a huge impact. We guys know with these options, what happens is that people take on leverage, and usually if there's a gap, if there's a difference between these option settling prices, like if you guys remember the CME gap that seemed to spook a lot of people, well, this is kind of the similar situation. Although for this situation, it's much less of a gap because it's on the crypto markets, because we have the funding rates that's going on. But because today's expiring, it's a very key time to just take a look at the markets. And I'll talk about this in a sec, but this is what's happening right now. This is kind of the main event of the day to see, like, kind of see if we have a smooth kind of options expiry. Sometimes what happens with this is that there's immense amounts of price movements as these two, if there's a gap, as to bridge that gap, there's an intense amount of movements. Now we do see the markets moving up, so it seems to be the case that as these options expire, there's a huge amount of fear, uncertainty, doubt that gets cleared up. Right, I think that's key to remember as well, where a lot of times it could be the fact that because there's fear on the market, because the volume, the amount of these options are huge, it does cause a bit of fear. So that's why towards the end, as these options expire, right, we see a movement towards the upward direction, which is what we're seeing right now. So this is the current take right now. We have in the past 24 hours, we're up. Bitcoin's up to $35,000, and Ethereum is all the way up to 2,000 again. Now, taking a closer look at the prices, you know that Bitcoin is kind of deciding the overall flow of the markets, and you can see that after the giant dip that happened on the 22nd. So you guys, yeah, 22nd was pretty darn brutal here. It dipped below 30K. I think that was the max of all fear. I was actually in both Telegram groups, the box mining public and the private ones. There was a lot of fear. There was a lot of kind of hugging each other out during that period of time when we saw Bitcoin drop below $30,000. It was brutal. It wasn't easy to see these numbers go down. I think, if you look at the big picture, and I think the way I survived this is, if I look at the big picture, obviously in the past year and two, the market has moved up tremendously, right? I mean, if you look at the same period of time just 1 year ago, right? If you look at that 20, like, let's say even in January, wow, look at that. If you look at it 1 year ago, right? What's Bitcoin at, right? 10K. We're still 3x from that point. But obviously having this dive from 60K down to 30K is brutal. So it really depends on your frame of mind, and shifting that frame is super important, right? So anyways, there was a lot of hand holding during that time, and we see a slight recovery during this time. Now, situation is a little bit more grim for Ethereum. So Ethereum actually dipped below what we regarded as the support. So we saw, we're seeing how strong that support is for Ethereum. I mean, Ethereum dipped below that for a certain amount of time, and actually I've had to move this bar a little bit down. Before, the bar was a little bit up here because I was taking this as a support line, but support's really down here. So we're at around 1,800-ish levels for the support, and Ethereum's kind of retesting the support a little bit more than it is with Bitcoin. So on the Bitcoin front, you can see that it's kind of steadily moving up, but with Ethereum, it's like, we'll see. Now, what are my expectations here? So now that we have the options expiring, I do want to pay some attention to the skew of what's going on. So with these futures that are expiring, it's kind of important to look at the few to see what the expectations of these leverage traders are at this current point. Right. So this is a Bitcoin smile chart. I think this is the first time I'm introducing this to the channel, but I found this kind of very interesting to look at. So how do you really read this? This is the skew or the smile. I think the colloquial way to say it is a smile chart. And this is a perfect example of a smile, right? It's a very symmetrical smile. This is for options expiring all the way down. So 1 month down the road, 1 month and a bit down the road, this is in July. And you see that as the prices go down, so you can see this is the price of Bitcoin over here, and this is the IV. So what you expect to see is this kind of shape forming, which is a smile. So as prices go down, you see this increase, and as prices go up, you see an increase. So what does that mean? So this kind of means this is the expectation, right? The traders are looking to see if prices slide down, they can be protected in this case. So this views how much kind of expectation, the steeper the slope here, the more kind of protection that the traders have against a price going down. Or if you think about it, the more kind of expectation that there's a possibility that prices can go down. The same thing is on this other side here, the other side of the smile. This is the expectation that the prices can go up, right? So this is for traders who, they expect prices go up, they can profit from that, and they can make their necessary trades. So this is where this is a very symmetrical smile. But what's kind of important here is that if you look at July the 2nd, right, which is just kind of 1 week down the line, it's not a very symmetrical smile. This is where traders kind of expect the prices to go down, so they're making their kind of the necessary risks. They're kind of protecting themselves from the price going down, but they're not really expecting a big upside here. So this doesn't look too great. All right. So for options expiring on next week, the options traders don't really expect that the prices are going to go up drastically, whilst they're expecting potentially, or they're protecting themselves from a downward slide here. This is why it's so steep here, and why it's so flat and smooth on the positive front, right? So this is where, yet again, this is kind of the current expectation right now, where the traders can expect 1 or 2 weeks of kind of just steady markets, and with protection going down. It looks a little bit better on already on July the 9th, but the kind of the real business, the real business is really on options expiring in end of July. This is where traders really do expect things to kind of resume normal, that there to be a huge upward action as long as a downward option. The best case scenario is that we see a flat line for this down here and a positive line here. So, and again, this is where the momentum can be. So traders really expect the momentum to come near the end of July, which is actually, to be honest, this is where I'm looking at as well. I'm expecting put a few weeks of calm as well in this market, but I thought it was quite useful for you guys to look at, especially to look at these cues on what these traders are doing. So that's the current take on it. The current take is potentially stability or a potential bracing for impact on the weekend, especially, and then throughout most of next week. And this is where I do have to say, weekends are a little bit scary for the markets as well. So what could be the biggest downward momentum of this weekend can be? And that is with China coming into play yet again. So a lot of times we see a weekend bleed out. So that's something that I'm mindful of, not financial advice, obviously, but this is something I'm quite aware of. On the weekend bleedouts do happen, and possibly one of the biggest negative pressures, obviously, is the Chinese. You hear the stuff about mining, right? Oh, China's banning mining, China's banning that, but more importantly, China is actually, let me just find the news here. China is actually removing or being very careful about people who are trading. So Hotbit, they're actually going to ban all traders that are trading with a +86 number, so a Chinese phone number. Let me just find the news for you guys really quickly. But I saw this and I was just like, wow, okay. These exchanges are taking things seriously. I think it's from. Oh, so that's one of the things to be more concerned about. It isn't just about shutting down the mining. It's more about, okay, who's gonna be trading, and how hard is China hitting the trading sector? All right, that's a bigger issue. That's what we're kind of looking at this current point. So let me just throw that on the screen right here. So Blue Blockchain says Hotbit is announcing that it will impose restricted functionalities on users from China. So anyone who's registered with a Chinese mobile number starting from July the 1st, the trading function, recharge function will be unavailable. So this will probably be the biggest fear coming in. So this it's not just about Hotbit, it's about other exchanges too, right? This is the kind of the China fear, the China FUD that's coming in at this current moment. So that seems to be the case where that could be the reason for the weekend bleed out and for next week being a little bit, asymmetrical. Traders protecting from the downside and not looking for the upside. But honestly, at this point, I feel like there's been so much fear in the market that it's actually making me extremely greedy. It's activating me. Like at the moment I see people freaking out, that's when it's like be that kind of old saying, right? Be fearful when everyone is greedy, and be greedy when everyone is fearful. So whilst that fear is going on for me, I see kind of fear on both sides of the spectrum, both in China. It's very clear. And I just want to throw this out for you guys at the final bit, throwing out here. So the last bit on trading, the last bit on traders. So you can see that with futures trades, right? We take a look at this. This is the funding rates for futures. And there's kind of two standout bits of information here. So funding rates, first and foremost, are extremely low. All right. This means that traders are not taking heavy trades on either side. It's very, very much close to just the perfect middle equilibrium point, which means that we don't have over leverage, which is great. Second point here is that the sign, right? So being positive and negative, it really does matter. And it seems to be the case that Huobi and OKX, where this is where a lot of Chinese volume is dominated at, it's negative. So this means that the traders are very bearish at this current point. They expect the prices to go down, whilst on Binance, FTX, and Bybit, the funding rates are positive. Very, very interesting. The Chinese are still extremely, extremely bearish. Well, not extremely bearish. They're more they are bearish, whilst FTX, Binance, which has more international traders, they're more bullish. All right. So the Chinese still expect the markets to go down for some certain amount of time. All right. So that's a one key bit of information that this funding rate is telling us, right? The signs of the funding rates are important. And whilst the intensity, right? Whilst the actual the size of these numbers are not very huge, which means that we're at a much better time. If you guys remember 1 or 2 months ago, before the major crash, we saw huge amounts of leverage. In fact, around 3 months ago, we saw huge amounts of leverage as people took on leverage positions. So we're in a much better position right now, where the traders are not over leveraged, right? Leverage is much reduced, so we have much less risk of a flash crash. So keep that in mind. And the second bit is that the Chinese are still quite bearish. I do want to comment here. I saw this on Wu Blockchain's replies. They're like, "Oh, crypto ban China." Let's see. What was there? There was another one about Chinese shouldn't trade. Oh yeah, China should be excluded from the global market. Binance. Take an example. I'm like, come on, guys. You guys know that crypto is global, regardless of. I think it's very short-sighted to see, to say comments like that. Chinese play a huge part in the global economy, and I'm not trying to support this anyway. I think it's like the China versus US thing, but what I'm saying is that Chinese actually need Bitcoin in many senses, because if they want to move value out of the country, etc., Bitcoin becomes a very powerful way to do so. So having this global access is very, very important. It's one of the kind of the tenets of Bitcoin, to be this kind of decentralized currency for everyone here. And China's going to be playing tippy-toeing around how, they're kind of tippy-toeing around the government. And it's been extremely kind of, it's been unclear. I think this is the issue with the mainstream coverage. They cover a lot about the mining side, but that's kind of just a kind of an indicator of what's happening very much down on the trading level, right? You can see that there's a huge presence of Chinese traders around still, and with the presence of both Huobi and OKX, these are the two gigantic exchanges that harbor Chinese or used to be the biggest exchanges in China, right? They still represent Chinese volume, and Chinese still want to trade, and that's kind of one of the powerful things about the current blockchain ecosystem is that it's still accessible for everyone. And it's one of the tenets of crypto anyway. So anyways, I'm not going to lecture you guys too long about it, but I feel like, understanding both sides of the market is very important. So let me throw something. I think I see Nathan going with his handsome face on. So let me throw Nathan on and we'll cover some of the news coverage that is happening right now. Hey, Nate, how's it going?
Yo, what's up? Can you hear me? I turned on the mic.
Yeah, loud and clear, sir. Loud and clear.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it's the first time live streaming with the camera, so I don't know where to look. Just like
new camera, huh? Beautiful. You can see your little face. Congrats. How's everything going on your side?
Everything's good. As we know, the market is kind of back up. There's a lot of things happening here, and life is good, man. Like, I think we're headed back to, I don't know. It might be sideways again. I don't want to get too happy. At least the past few live streams I've been super bullish. So now I'm still bullish, but I'm not like we're gonna go all the way to the moon. So things are good. Glad to see a little bit of action. How are you guys doing? Glad to see you guys.
Yeah, I mean, this week was rough. I'll definitely say, like I said, this week itself wasn't easy, right? It was one of those cases where I saw a lot of capitulation on Reddit. If you look at Reddit cryptocurrency, and you still see a little bit of that now, where you see articles of people saying, spent this morning with a suicidal friend who brought near the all-time high. Sold his crypto at near perfect lows. This is the dark side of crypto, fellas. Let's look out for each other and don't take more risk than you can afford to lose. And you see these stories a lot, right? You see these stories a lot where people who aren't experienced in this space, they get lured by all that price action, right? The price action of crypto going up, and it happens. And people for the longest period, I think crypto didn't dip, right? In this run up, it was just up only, right? It was like, oh wow, all the way from August, it was up, more up. And you have these minor dips, but they were nothing really kind of as crazy as this, right? And it's kind of more prevalent in the Ethereum charts. So for ETH, it looks ugly, right? Like the spike up, it's amazing, and obviously going back down is rough. And I feel for these people who don't have the experience, and I kind of feel the other issue I see for this is that during this run up, there's a lot of new people who don't know what they're doing. So you can see a lot of new TikTok traders. Almost every channel is talking about crypto, and they're introducing a lot more people to crypto. But the problem is, they're getting the worst type of exposure, either through very shit coins like cum rockets. I would say would be probably the worst one. It's like the worst type of meme. And also the other issue is that there's a lot of leverage trading, so people can lose. They can multiply up their losses. So that's careful. I also see a lot of capitulation like this. After careful skimming of hundreds of comments, I've concluded that we're entering a bull market. So bull bear market, interesting. But I've seen quite a lot of capitulation here. So this is quite bullish for me, honestly. And yeah, it's rough to experience it, like especially on Wednesday. I think it's rough to experience, to go through that, where ETH dropped to 1,700. And at that time, it's kind of people were talking about even smaller numbers as it breaks past that support, right? So I feel like that was the kind of the nasty part about everything here.
Yeah, it's easy to kind of get into that spiral. I mean, as soon as it goes down past what you think it is, like let's say it was like 30 grand, 30K was my, I guess, quote target. Oh, it'll never go below 30K. As soon as it goes under 30, the freakouts happens. It's like, oh man, it's gonna go below 25 next. It's gonna go below 20, and then yeah. So I mean, same with it as going up. As soon as it breaks 30, it's like next up. Oh, camera died. Hold on.
All right. We'll take a look. It's okay. Don't worry about it. But I just want to read a comment from Tony Devils. He says, China will not allow anything that it can't control, and Bitcoin will not allow itself to be controlled, fire and ice. It's kind of interesting. China is a little bit kind of I would say it's true to a certain extent. China definitely wants a very strong control over its currency, but China doesn't really view Bitcoin as currency. It views Bitcoin as a commodity. right? Just like how oil is a commodity, it views kind of Bitcoin like a digital gold. So it kind of flips flops sometimes. You can see that sometimes the Chinese are very, very relaxed about Bitcoin. And then it enters phases where China is very strict about Bitcoin, especially when the way you can really view it is especially when there's a lot of people who are new to crypto. Sometimes all of a sudden they go all crazy, right? And especially you see a lot of projects pushing to farmers, even, you know, like they'll have like these investment classes and they'll push to farmers and everyone, and they can wreck a lot of people, right? Especially with something like plus token being very popular there. So sometimes you can see the government really kind of pushing a very strict control when Bitcoin goes a little bit crazy, and it relaxes sometimes. And this is very this was shown last year as well, when last year they were kind of talking about DCEP, their digital currency, right? Their national digital currency. And during that time, they were on national TV talking about Bitcoin and Ethereum in conjunction with DCEP, right? So it's a very interesting kind of swing between two very extreme sides of the spectrum, but it's very clear right now that China is swinging towards the kind of the banning side of the spectrum. And it's important to remember that there's a lot of Chinese who really solidly believe in Bitcoin. I think a lot of people don't realize this because they don't chat with Chinese people a lot. But, you know, whilst there's a lot of people who are kind of getting this in here for the wrong reasons, in China there's a huge base of like Bitcoin maxis and other, you know, very strong Bitcoin hodlers and miners. You know, they're mining from the get-go. So I feel like there's a huge community there, but obviously there's a huge community that's freaking out right now. So I think that's just blatantly obvious, and you kind of rely on the strong hodl community there to really step up, but that hasn't happened at this current point. That's kind of the view on it. It's a situation where the freak out is quite strong. But anyways, okay. Angela once says it was kind of getting boring. I mean, there wasn't too much price action for a while. I definitely do say it was getting a little bit boring for a while, but now I think, you know, as much as I think things are moving quite. I think things are potentially moving up as these options expire. All right, I definitely see that there could be a potential pickup as kind of the market gets purged of all the fear. Right, we have like multiple China FUDs. We have the options FUD. We have all this. I think what was the last bit of FUD? Oh yeah, there was GBTC FUD, right, where Grayscale could dump a bit. But with all these FUD being clear, I think this is an opportunity. Anyways, very quickly, do you want to cover some of the news stuff that we brought today, or well, let's talk about some tweets first. Let's talk about some tweets. I saw people talking about this tweet a little bit earlier. Elon says,
"Oh, Elon, yeah, he just tweeted that maybe about an hour ago." Yeah, I have that on my...
How many Bitcoin maxis does it take to screw a light bulb?
Too many. I don't know. Get angry. I mean, he's trolling for sure. He's funny. I think he's funny. I think he's pretty funny. I could see how a lot of people get mad though.
So many people got triggered here. It's like, I got Peter McCormick. How many obnoxious Bitcoiners does it take for you to stop being a dick? We got Michael Saylor saying, if you give us 10 minutes, maybe we can hash out the answer. We got Superman saying, how many Elon tweets does it take to screw up Bitcoin? Crypto logs up here, 1 to mine the light bulb, 10 to verify the light bulb was mine, 100 to post about Twitter saying all other forms of light bulbs and lightning are inferior, and this light bulb is the end of it. I mean, what has Bitcoin become? What has Twitter come to? I don't know. Yeah. I'm just face palming every time that Elon tweets, man. I mean, do you follow him? Yeah,
I follow him as well. It's kind of interesting to see as well. I mean, I think he's joking a lot of the time, and I find that a lot of people that we know, they kind of tend to jump on and just comment and try to get some sort of response out of him, right? He's getting a response out of everyone else. Everyone is responding, hoping that Elon will reply to them, and it's just like a huge, you know, it's cool. I mean, that's Twitter. Twitter's fun, you know what I mean?
It is Twitter. It is what it is, and it has degraded to this, right? Where it's like kind of all out troll wars, right? You know, I feel like it's a situation where Elon did have a lot of control. Like he has a big following, and because he bought Bitcoin with Tesla money, he made a big play in Bitcoin. I don't think he's given up. Like he really stated that he's holding roughly around 90% of the Bitcoin he's bought. But at the same time, I think he's enjoying this troll lord role that he's playing right now. And I think in a way, I do agree that Bitcoin maxis do get intoxicating a little bit.
It's super offended. Yeah.
The amount of tribalism in the space is more than I feel like this space needs, right?
Yeah.
Like the amount of toxicity, and I think it's just because Bitcoin maxis have been here for such a long time, and I'm glad I'm not a maxi. First and foremost, I think there's a lot more innovation in space than just Bitcoin, right? And it's a situation where I'm actually definitely very happy. I'm happy not to be a full-on maxi at this current point. All right. The other one is John McAfee. Rip John.
Yeah. Rest in peace, man. It's a sad time.
Sure. I mean, I just want to comment and say, he was a champ, right? He was a champ for. I did an interview with him on the blockchain cruise, and this dude is he's a trooper, man. And he did answer the question of how he's gonna eat his dick if Bitcoin doesn't pass 100,000. Actually 1 million by 2020. So he was a champ for answering that. I do have to say that reflecting on this, right, I definitely don't think he did commit suicide, because that was kind of the news that he committed suicide in Spain.
Yeah.
But no, this man is just strong, man. He just to give a backstory for this, just on this day, right? On this day, he did like not 6 interviews. He did 8 interviews, right? And this is and he was like perpetually drinking. As a classic John McAfee, he was both drinking and doing interviews nonstop. And just to give you guys like some backstory to this, like doing interviews is not easy, right? You get asked these stupid questions. Someone's gonna ask, how are you gonna eat your own dick, and you gotta find a good answer and make it funny and stuff, right? And he did 8 of these in a day. Like I can barely handle like 3-4 interviews in a day. I've done that. I've done like 3 interviews in a day, and I'm exhausted by the end of it. But this guy is just like fighting on, right? Like that's how I knew him. Like this guy was a fighter. As much as he was a troll lord, he was a fighter, and there's just no way that a fighter like him would just like suicide or kill himself after like being in prison for 8 months, right? Like he had stamina, and he also posted beforehand that if he suicides in prison, he's clearly going to be whacked. So
suicide,
I totally don't believe it. There's something greater going on here.
It's like Epstein, right? The whole Epstein case as well. Like Epstein killed himself, sure. I mean, whatever.
This was messed up, man.
Yeah.
99 says, who killed John McAfee? Damien Rice says McAfee didn't kill himself. Absolutely not. Like there's just no way.
Yeah,
like I think I've been watching public media, like a mainstream media, cover this, and they're like, oh, it's he was sending mixed messages. He tattooed himself with the whacked tattoo, saying that if he does die in prison, he'll be whacked. And then there was other mixed messages he was sending. The messages were not mixed, right? He was very clear about the message, and just judging by his character as well. Like of the times I've spoken to him, right? There's just no way. He's such a fighter. He has that insane amount of stamina and determination. There's no way that he can just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna, apparent suicide. It's just a matter of who, but. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he did talk about it. I remember he said that if I suicide in prison, then and I remember reading that and then thinking, oh man, that's not. Yeah, it's just rest in peace, man.
Rest in peace, man. Let's not dwell into this too much. Rest in peace.
To a dark place.
He might have escaped. Who knows? I mean, at this current point, it's still unclear a little bit. But yeah, that's rough. That was kind of sad to see. Sad to see that happen. All right, moving on to new stuff. Okay, so I'll bring the stuff on the. Do you want to cover the stuff that's happening in the U.S., Nate?
Sure. Yeah,
your video's out again. Oops.
Oh no! Oh, hold on. I don't know why it does that. I think I have to get one of those like perpetual. because we charge the
I
batteries.
think
So
what's happening. All right, all right. So this is a backstory. So I told Nate to move on to a camera instead of his webcam, and I think what's happening is you're outputting. Oh, just click the record button. That's how to do it.
hit
For
the
now,
record
just click the
button.
record button. Hit the record button so your camera doesn't go into standby. I think that's what's happening.
Okay, I think it's rolling.
Yeah, Shiba. We got Goodfellas. It's Shiba Inu token. Oh my god.
Shiba.
Yeah, Shiba. Man.
Okay. So yeah,
All
I have it pulled up here about some of the stuff that's going on. So,
I'll throw your screen up. Yep.
okay, yeah. So Bitcoin hits 35K after Biden reveals infrastructure deal. Paraguay proposes BTC bill. Real quick. So stocks went off today, and Biden came out and said that he came to a deal with a bipartisan. You know, there's two parties, there's Republicans and Democrats, two main parties, and he said that they came to this deal for this infrastructure agreement of $953 billion, and you know they're going to continue to work together. So that sparked some news. Stock market rallied, and then Bitcoin rallied as well. I don't know if that's the direct correlation, but you know that could be a part of it.
It's a huge part of it, and you definitely see kind of like a reciprocal action happening. Like crypto moves up, and then the Asian markets gets pushed up too, right? Because right now we're in the Asian time zone. So yeah, so both the U.S. and the Asian time zones get pushed up here. That's great.
Right, and then something that I found quite interesting was that two blockchain bills passed in the U.S. House, and they're heading for the Senate. So I pulled up the two bills here, just so everyone can take a look. The first one is the Digital Taxonomy Act of 2019. So this is the proposal of it to kind of telling the FTC to make sure that there's not a lot of fraud and unfair acts happening. So I think there have been a lot of ICO buzz, problems in the past 2017, and so they're going to try to do something about that for this one. And then the next one is just the Blockchain Innovation Act, which is to implement blockchain and to study blockchain. They didn't say Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies, but they said blockchain in particular. So the technology itself and how it can be used. So it's the requirements for study is trends in the commercial use and investment of blockchain technology, best practices, and potential benefits and risks, and all that good stuff. So it's kind of interesting that finally,
it's
the
taking
government,
the China approach. Like China's also being like, oh, blockchain good, crypto bad. Here it's like they're kind of like explicitly kind of avoiding the crypto side and say, yeah, blockchain innovation, hey. But that's a start, right? That's a start.
yeah, I guess they just can't. They can't like say anything about money because for me and for a lot of people here, we believe that Bitcoin is money, but if you're from the legacy financial that time, like let's say like the older generation, like let's say my parents, they don't necessarily see Bitcoin as money. They see the US dollar as money, and that's just a generation gap. We're just different, and what we believe is financial and money it's not necessarily so to them. So that's what I've learned. Next up, we can. Oh, John McAfee. Yeah, we talked about that already. I just wanted to. So, again, with the politics. So the mayor, the New York. There's a guy running for mayor for New York City. He said, I don't know if you're going to facepalm from this, but he said, "I'm going to promise you in 1 year you're going to see a different city," and he said that it's going to be the center of Bitcoins. Let me see if I can find that part for you. Because before Andrew Yang was the one who was. He dropped out of the race, by the way. He was the one who was pro cryptocurrency, but now the front running guy says, we're going to bring businesses here. We're going to become the center of life science, the center of cybersecurity, the center of self-driving cars, drones, the center of Bitcoins.
Hey, so, maybe if they, I definitely see it's interesting that Bitcoin is used as part of a kind of a campaign push as a message. I think this is something that, I don't think we would have imagined this to be happening. I think, 5 years ago, I don't think, people would be like, oh my God, this person's campaign is based or, has a Bitcoin pillar, right? I think this is where I think like you have to take this as this mainstream acceptance of Bitcoin. right? Before, I think going back 5-6 years, because I was in the space for that time, uh, Bitcoin was regarded as just pure trash before, and you definitely
Right.
see that there's a shift in narrative, and I definitely see that this is something that's growing. Even though yes, we have these insane price volatility fluctuations, but yeah, I think that's actually pretty awesome, to be honest.
Yeah, and
Obviously, go on.
yeah, I feel like the crypto community itself is finally able to be heard. I mean, before it was always like, that's a scam. What are you talking about? You
Yeah,
always get dismissed,
yeah,
some magic internet nerd money. And then now finally, whoever's been here for a while, they finally they're being heard. People are being heard, and you can see it. You can see that people are talking about it, especially here in the States. My neighbors are talking about it. Some people at a park were talking about DeFi. So it's here. It's not what I imagined, mass adoption would be, but I think it's a good step in the right direction.
yes.
So just like
And
FTX. Yeah.
Yeah, and this one, yeah. I mean, I think this is a perfect timing. You want to go for the article, and I'll give a snarly comment about it.
Yeah, right here, SBF, Twitter. He said, "We're really excited to partner with Major League Baseball." I'm a huge fan of Major League Baseball. I'm such a nerd, but yeah, I mean, it's they have these uniforms, and they're gonna patch them. They're gonna patch FTX onto the uniforms, and it's kind of big stuff. It's big for me. And so FTX is just killing it. They're
buying stuff up like crazy, huh? They
Yeah.
have the naming rights for the FTX Miami Heat arena, the FTX arena. So that was a big arena that's named after FTX, and now they have Major League Baseball. I think it's just good timing, right? Because I mean, with all like sports probably took a huge hit during COVID, right?
Right.
With the lack of real life events. I mean, its own people. The events are just opening up right now, right? So it's a perfect time to buy, right? Everyone needs money, and then now, here's some money. Go put our logo there. So I think, yet again, this actually establishes Bitcoin a foundation for people's understanding of Bitcoin. And I feel like it's a situation. So I was just reading a few comments up just now. There's definitely a lot of people being a little bit bearish on this channel, and I don't disagree. I think Rob the Bear is back, so welcome, Rob. He says he's not a bear right now, says Rob, but he think that 24 to 26K is possible. That would be the final push, and then accumulation. So he's on his accumulation phase, and this really does echo the kind of the smile that we were showing a little bit earlier on the channel, right? You see a lot of traders, or for the next week, they're trying to protect themselves from Bitcoin prices going down, right? Like 20K, 25K. You can see that there's a huge peak up here. The slope is extremely strong here, and the slope doesn't really go up on the other side, right? Because people don't really expect Bitcoin to go, to 45K in a week, right? But they do, or they from a downward slide. But as the end of July approaches, traders are very, very equal on both sides. You can definitely see that smile going on. So I definitely see that this is this seems to be the majority thinking of what is happening on the markets. Yep. Okay. So let me go back to this one. So yep. Nate.
Oh yeah. So this is something I thought was very interesting. Coinbase is taking a step towards not regulation, but they're providing a tool to auto audit smart contracts and DeFi clones. I don't know if this is to protect its users, but with DeFi, a lot of times if you're not a coder and you're not a programmer, you can't really see what was deployed. So whether there's like a backdoor created into the code where you can mint as many tokens as you want, or if you want to be able to kind of take control through the private keys of, by doing some sort of like hijack, or there's a lot of different cases where you can even like front run or DDoS attack, or there's so many options, especially with decentralization. You can do whatever you want essentially, and people can create anything they want through the code. And so I think it's also a good step. I know there's a lot of maybe too much news to some right now about crypto, but this is a tool where soon enough they'll be able to audit the code. And it's for everyone who is not an expert programmer, or if you've never written a smart contract before, at least you can kind of see if someone's copying it or what's happening.
Exactly. And I think that's something people don't know. And I just wanted to give a big shout out to Trustswap for developing something that's very cool as well in the process. Because if you guys know, anyone can create tokens out of thin air, right? This is the craziest part about the whole token creation process. And what they have been doing is they've been providing kind of this transparent kind of way to view when tokens can get unlocked and distributed. So it's like they have these liquidity, both locks on the liquidity and locks on the founders tokens, because these kind of are the big factors that can suddenly impact the price, right? So especially for altcoins, what happens is that because anyone can create as many coins, what happens is a lot of projects, they say, oh yeah, trust us. You can trust us because we have our founders and we've locked up our tokens. So, we're long term, right? This happens with a lot of these projects. They say, well, yeah, we're long term. We're not going to dump on the market, but we can hold, like a lot of projects, they sometimes hold like 50-60% of the supply. But if that's the case, right, or even more, if that's the case, if they're not truthful, right, if they're dishonest and people don't spend the time to look at the code, then sometimes they have unlocked tokens and they can dump that in the market, causing these huge crashes or rug pulls, right, where they just dump their supply. They say, adios, people, peace out. And the other, so what Trustswap does is that they kind of they display very clearly, right? They help people lock the contracts up, and then they display very clearly when the unlocks are happening. Now, something that's interesting with Trustswap is that's recently launched, and I want to show you guys this as well because we're going to go through this, is that they can actually create a coin. This is actually super cool. So you can have the mint. The mint is finally live. I've been talking about this for a while, but this weekend I kind of this week rather, I did a dive into Trustswap, and there's two big things that are happening. So I want to give shout out to Jeff. So one is you can create your coin. So anyone or any team or any project can create their coin via the mint function. So this is a way, just basically no coding experience required. You can create your own token. But the interesting feature here is that it automatically uses Trustswap, and it offers two opportunities, right? One is it offers people to more kind of safely create tokens without exploits and with audited contracts. The second value is that it offers, like, when this is used, it doesn't have an upfront cost, but what it does is it takes a portion of that supply, and a part of that goes to the Trustswap holders. So it becomes a mining pool for people who hold swap. So that gives value back to the swap community, and it gives advertising for that project because it kind of distributes that token out. And it gives the Trustswap also, I think it's 0.1% as well. So I think this is a very powerful tool. I think this is actually quite genius. I actually been like referencing this to a lot of people who are building services surrounding crypto, because a lot of times people and companies, they want money up front, right, to use the service. But the way the token the mint.finance works is it doesn't take upfront cost. And this is very important for a lot of people who are trying to innovate in the space, because they just don't have the money up front. Fun fact, there's consultancies for crypto right now, and some of those costs can go up to $100,000 to $500,000 for legal or for audit consults, right? Like, this is a fun fact. It's actually real. I don't want to reveal any sources, but it's true that big audit firms and big law firms, they're taking an upfront cost of $200,000, right? But this is something that you don't want to do in crypto. Like, this is the wrong business strategy. You want to be able for people to create something for low cost, but then of course you have some services added on top, right? Which is where the Trustswap automatically gives them, gives a marketing pool, creates that pool for people. So it does take a portion of the coins, and if the coin does well, then that's great, right? So that's great value for the entire community and for the Trustswap holders. But I feel like that's like the right business strategy. So I just want to highlight that. We're going to do a quick tutorial on that very soon, and I'm just going to show you the whole process so you guys understand how this altcoin thing is going. So I want to give a shout out to Jeff about that, but that's kind of cool. They also on Trustswap, they have the crypto app. They just recently acquired that, and I think, I actually installed it today. It's actually pretty interesting. So
There's
I'm
a
actually
Trustswap
spending
app.
quite a. There's the
There's an
crypto app,
Oh,
which Trustswap acquired. So it's an Android app on your phone, and it's kind of like CoinMarketCap.
mm,
It gives information about the markets and everything. It's at 1 million installs right now, and it's just recently acquired by Trustswap. So they're gonna spin up something very cool there. But anyways, I just want to give that a shout out very quickly. All right, so I think you're done with your news section, right, Nate?
yeah.
Very
There's a
quick
lot of stuff, but yeah, let's move on. Let's see what you got.
thing, last thing here. So this is about Ethereum. So we covered this last week about this new London hard fork that's happening. So I think this is quite important because we actually seen the power of this right now. We just seen. So I'll give you guys a little bit of a insight into this. So what's going to happen, and this is going to happen to Ethereum very soon, is that Ethereum's new hard fork, which does include this Ethereum Improvement Protocol 1559. It's gonna change how Ethereum operates, because previously Ethereum is, more is being created. There's no burn mechanism. Now there's gonna be a new burn mechanism when Ethereum upgrades with the London hard fork. What's gonna happen is they're gonna first of all double the size of blocks, so more transactions can get through. They can take more fees, which is great. But what's interesting about this is that the fees, as part of the new transactions that come in, right? Because they double the number of blocks, those new transactions, the fees don't go to the miners. That's usually the way it goes. It usually goes to the miners, and the miners get further rewards, so it just creates further inflation on the network. But after this, half of those fees now will go directly to a burn. So we see that this is already happening on the test net. So this is being tested out right now. And on Robson, already 88,000 Ethereum has been burnt using this new mechanism. So I find this is super, super interesting for long term, where, Ethereum, first of all, needs to deal with these massive congestions that do happen. And we saw that, right? This weekend. Actually, not this weekend. On Wednesday, the prices, the gas costs all the way shot up to 150 again as people panic sold, right? So during these kind of spike surge times, it's like kind of Uber surge costs, right? Well, a lot of previously those Uber surge costs went straight to miners. So congrats miners, and it's kind of pushing up the GPU prices. But in the future, what's going to happen once this update comes live is that half of that will go straight to just being burnt, being destroyed, going back to the token holders, and it's going to reduce congestion because it's doubling the power, doubling the size of those blocks. So I think that's pretty awesome. That's coming on live very soon. So keep an eye out for that. So EIP 1559 is coming, and it's going to make a huge impact, to be honest, on Ethereum. That kind of takes everything. I think we're almost done with all the news elements and the shout outs that I have. So, last shout out. I do want to say this week I've also spent a lot of time with Refinable. So, Refinable, folks, you guys know, is the NFT platform on Binance Smart Chain. The interface is up. It's super nice. They're working on a lot of artists. So, in terms of solving the chicken and egg argument, they're getting a lot of artists. They're getting a lot of kind of driving very, very hit. Like, there's actually a team of 3-4 people I've been talking to them, getting artists, getting people on board, and they're doing a lot. So I think this time, like during this time when everything's very quiet, I'm paying a lot of attention to people who are building. So I hope you guys can do the same. Share some thoughts about who else is building very strongly in the climate like this. I think it's very important that we really push that frontier forward. Yes, markets are down a bit, but you definitely see that very huge positive push here. So, anyways, without further too much shilling, I've definitely see this being pushed forward, and I hope you guys have a great weekend. Be safe this weekend, obviously. Like I said, we're still in a very volatile time right now, and a lot of traders are kind of bracing themselves for a downfall this weekend. So just be a little bit mindful. Like for me, that for me personally, I'm bracing myself a little bit for but potentially a bad weekend. But after that, I feel like we're kind of in the movement towards the right direction. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Guys, thank you guys. Remember to smash the likes. Oh, we got 227 likes. Wow, congrats. Thank you guys.
Nice.
Thank you. Really appreciate it. And also check out Nathan's channel, Crypto Nuts. I've seen you doing a lot of new videos, Nate. So thanks for that. Awesome. Great for being that education element there. So yeah, check out Nate's channel on Cryptonauts. Let's zoom in on Nate's face. You know, he looks really handsome and cool now. Yeah, nice
You got camera.
too, man.
Yeah. I mean, if you guys like the camera, I can keep it. If not, I can always just go back to the MacBook. I mean, it's. Do you feel like the camera makes a difference, or do you feel like the MacBook? Do you like the MacBook better, or do you like the camera better?
I love this camera, man. I love this camera, man. I love this camera. Hey, Phil, what's up?
What up?
Nice. I love the camera, man. I love the camera. The camera's great. Camera's great, man. I love it. All right.
Okay.
That's it, folks. Smash with the likes. Smash with the likes if you like this camera. All right. See you guys soon, folks.
Thanks, guys.
That camera looks more natural. It really does. It really does make you look cooler. So, yeah. All right, guys.
Cool. Yeah,
thanks for watching. Peace.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Peace
Take
out.
care.
Later, guys.